Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we just finished up our 2 mega burns. And if we look here, you can see if we can get zoomed in here, we have reasonable trajectories. Reasonable. So that's all well and good. I do want to, at this point, I think hop back to the tracking station here, and we're just going to see what our next maneuver is. Now, I didn't set up a circularization maneuver for that last one, and I probably should have. I actually didn't set up a circularization one for either of these. We'll need to keep that in mind. So the Jool station's maneuver is going to be in 1 year. The fuel modules is still going to be in 2 years. So let's actually set up circularizations for our scoopers. And we'll just fast forward to whatever the next thing is. So this one here is, of course, going to need to be taken off to Jool. And let's see what that final periapsis is looking like. I don't think this is the one we were just in. Yeah, this one's slightly different. So at this periapsis, we're going to go ahead and do something along the lines of this and try to circularize it. It's going to be a lot of delta V. There's no doubt about that. In fact, let's not circularize it quite this much. Let's keep it somewhat elliptical. And let's have it be perhaps like this. Reason being for easier maneuvering when we're attempting to dock up. And also, hopefully, being able to change our inclination a little bit better. So that one's in 2 years, 9 days. Sure. So let's get zoomed out of here. And we're going to want to grab whichever Jool gas scooper isn't ours. This one. Let's get a maneuver set up for that. And we'll need, of course, to focus on Jool as soon as we can here. And we'll get zoomed right on in. And we'll do a very, very similar deceleration burn. About like that or so. That'll do. Inclination is still probably a little bit off, but that's okay. So now we can head back to the tracking station, and now we have a good idea of when these burns are going to be happening. Specifically, we know that we are going to be burning next. This thing has a maneuver. Well, we've missed that maneuver a little bit. I'm not sure what that was intended to be, but sure. We're going to come down here. We know that our fuel module for our solar station is in 2 years, 19 days. So our Jool station is actually our next burn at 1 year, 303 days. So this one would be next, followed by this one, and then this one quite a ways behind. So let's go ahead and fly the Jool station here. Our good old wine bottle friend. And the question, of course, becomes, how much delta V do we have left in our non-electric engine? The answer, not a whole lot. But we're going to go ahead and point at our maneuver node here. We do still have some fuel here, so that's great. This is going to be an estimated burn time of about 7 minutes, far shorter than the other burn times. For whatever reason, it's not letting me focus on Jool. I can focus on Duna, but I cannot focus on Jool for the life of me. Awkward. I think I'm just going to delete this maneuver. And now we can focus on Jool. Okay, wonderful. So let's take a look at our periapsis here. Yeah, that's fine. Right at this periapsis, we're going to add a maneuver. We're going to bring this down. I'm not going to fully circularize this, I don't think. Well, maybe I will. It would be something like this, in theory. That would do the trick. No idea what that inclination is like. It's a little bit off plane, but I think that's okay. Yeah, that should be fine. We can fix it later if we need to. So we're going to position for that. And we're going to begin our very long warp over towards this. There isn't really anything else that we want to do here. So let's head on over. At a sweet, sweet 100,000 times time warp. Wonderful. Even at this prodigious speed, it's going to take some time to get here. So let's discuss what exactly the plan is at this point. So we have our 2 missions that are ongoing, right? We've got our solar station and we've got our Jool station. The solar station, all we're going to do there is dock up our fuel module to complete this contract here. That should be completely acceptable at that point. And that will complete our solar station, our solar collector station, at least for the purposes of this build. It's not actually able to do anything. We maybe would want to send up like a battery module where we recharge the battery and like return that to Kerbal or something. I don't know. That is potentially something we can do if we want to stretch this out, but I kind of want to move on to Stellaris. I mean, this series has gone on for a very long time, almost 6 months. So that is lengthy. Lengthy for sure. And I'd like to wrap it up fairly soon. So I think after we dock up the fuel module to the solar station, that's when we'll call it good for that project. Then for this project, we're just going to dock up our 2 gas scoopers to our station in Jool orbit. And we're going to run one quote-unquote operational mission here. Now, a lot of what's going on with the Jool station is a fiction, right? Because we can't actually gather xenon gas from Jool. We can't refine it into xenon fuel like this. It's fiction, but that's expected and completely fine. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to just run a single mission where we dip into the Joolian atmosphere, not very deep, use our scoopers, quote-unquote, to scoop up some gas and return it back to the station where it would theoretically refine it into refilling our xenon gas. In practice, none of that actually happens, just because of the way that there's no way to make xenon gas in Kerbal Space Program. We're just pretending. And then once we're done with that operational mission, I think we call it quits on this series. I feel like this has been a very successful series. There's been a lot of places we didn't go, but that's okay. I have, of course, gone to every one of these locations in Kerbal Space Program, in vanilla Kerbal. And let's begin our deceleration burn at, let's see here, 3 minutes and 29.5 seconds. Something like that. No, just 3 minutes, 29 seconds. Okay, so we'll go ahead and warp towards 3 minutes, 29 seconds, and then we'll begin our deceleration burn. This feels really low already. Like, Jool is huge, right? I've overshot slightly. Let's get started on this burn. I'm going to physics warp this burn. And we are out of electric charge. That is something I should have thought of. Roll isn't really going to be helpful here. Luckily, we're okay. Does this have an alternator on it? No, the Terrier does not. So the Terrier will be burning out pretty soon here. We're mostly only getting fuel flow from the Terrier. That's okay. We may have to do a second pass at this braking. That's fairly expected. This has not a ton of battery power available on it. In fact, do we have batteries on this thing, really? We've got the one rechargeable battery bank. Yeah, that's a problem, and we kind of knew that that would be a problem. The fuel flow on these, yeah, it's pretty bad out here at Jool. So I guess that's fine. We have a little bit of thrust here, not much. And we're going into the Terminator of Jool here, so we're going to be losing power pretty soon. In fact, there goes our Terrier, and there goes our Dawn electric propulsion system. Okay, so we're currently control locked, and we're in a bit of a tumble. That's fine. So our overall orbit here isn't tremendously long, but where are our other probes here? So let's just go ahead and, at this point, go into here, and I'd like to... Oh, we can't actually do that from here. Right, because we're control locked. We're going to have to wait a while until we're out over here. So I want to head back to the tracking station at this time. We should be able to get a substantially longer burn out of our other probes, but keep in mind, this is intended that we have to bank up our battery power, and then from there we'll be quasi-okay. So this one's 132 days away. So back to the station then. We can definitely take another pass at getting the station braked. And that'll be completely acceptable. So at this point, I'm sorry, what? Was that Lathe? For a second there, I thought this was Kerbin and Moon, but no, this is clearly Jool here. I got a little confused there. That's Lathe and Vol. Lathe and Vol. I was like, did something load incorrectly? But no, it did not. Okay, we're just going to warp to about here, not to next maneuver. We're going to warp to about, we actually can't warp like that. We're going to need to manually warp. We're going to bring it around to over here. Just keeping an eye on this. There we go. Now we have power, in theory. Yeah, some sun exposure there. Oh hey, our first flyby of Jool, and we entered orbit of Jool. Indeed we did. We appear to have no data right now. Now why do we have no data here? Because we are occluded by Jool, is the answer, I'm pretty sure. Where is Kerbin? Kerbin is here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure... Well, actually we shouldn't be occluded by Jool right now, should we? Because that's Kerbin there. Are we just out of range? We weren't out of range before. I'm also noticing our SAS isn't working. I think we might actually just be bugged here. So I'm going to hop back to the tracking station and reload this. And we'll see. I think that may have been a bug. So we'll load in the Jool station here. Because we should have a connection here, I believe. I don't think we're out of range. We have the most powerful antenna available to us right now, if not in the game. No, we're just... no signal. And it's not because the antenna is facing away from Kerbin either. Kerbin should be right about here. Okay. Well, I guess we must just be out of range. We weren't out of range before. Maybe we are occluded. Maybe there's some weird hitboxing going on here. We're letting our electric charge regen anyway. Actually, our electric charge is maxed. What was really weird, though, was... oh, SAS is working now. Okay. We can't alter our maneuver currently. And that's fine. So yeah, our SAS was clearly bugged. But let's go ahead and warp our way around. Keeping an eye on our signal here. We don't need signal to finish this, though. This will be fine. So we're just going to bring this right on around to around here. Let's check the orientation of our solar panels. Not ideal. Not ideal. Of course, this is intended to be in a vertical orientation, but that's not what we've got right now. Let's go ahead and warp a little further here until this drifts a little closer to retrograde. And we'll go ahead and start the burn, I think, now-ish. We're going to burn through our electricity real quick here. Look at that go. Okay. We're going to stop burning here because you can see that pushed this towards retrograde pretty dramatically. I want to check our current periapsis. It's acceptable. That's continuing to push to retrograde. What is our time to periapsis? 15 minutes? So we should be burning retrograde right now. So I don't actually care about this maneuver. That's fine. We're just going to bring this on down a little bit. And in fact, I'm now going to warp forward just a bit and let our electric charge regenerate. It won't regenerate a whole lot, to be clear. And we'll burn at about 5 minutes to periapsis. Okay. And that did actually fully regenerate. Nice. Okay, we'll get oriented for retrograde. Once again, if these were on arms that could be swiveled, that would be ideal. That's something that I will do in future, for sure. And let's go ahead and burn what electric charge we can, and then we'll just burn a single engine from there, since I'm pretty sure that's how much we can burn. And yeah, you can see here, this is problematic, but we don't actually care about this maneuver. So yeah, we are actually full on limited probe control here, and I didn't expect that. We can maybe send a relay satellite out here. Maybe. So yeah, we can run this one engine, and this would take potentially multiple passes. We knew that this was likely to be the case. Let's go ahead and physics warp as we burn this. And we're just going to continue heading on down here towards the periapsis. And eventually we will run out of power, and that is acceptable. Yeah, this is fine. This is completely fine. Now, it would be slightly better if we had the other ships docked up, because we could use that power, but they would be very unstable, and that's not great. So we'll just keep burning this until we no longer have the electric charge. You can see we're slightly off from our retrograde. That's because our single booster that is firing here, or rather our single electric propulsion system, is off-center. And that's fine. The apoapsis is dropping, but not at prodigious speed. We knew that that would be the case, of course. We're currently past periapsis, and we are going to be losing energy efficiency here in a moment. There goes the sun. And we're out of energy. Okay. So we've got time to do another pass here. So we'll go ahead and time warp it on up. There goes our electric charge. Fantastic. And right around here, I'm going to be burning, I think, radial. I think it's radial that I want. Radial or anti-radial? Let's see. Radial out. We're going to keep an eye on our apoapsis and periapsis. What we're looking for is our periapsis to rise a bit here. And our apoapsis to fall. And that is indeed what is happening. Perfect. Now, this isn't the most efficient technique in the world here, but it'll drop our apoapsis a little bit. Once our periapsis is at about 400 kilometers, then we're going to warp forward again. 377. It's not going up super quickly. Let's go ahead and physics warp this. $390. And coming out of physics warp. 398. 399. And 400. Cutting thrust. And we will allow our electric charge to regenerate for a bit here. Just because it's annoying me, I'm going to actually clear this input lock. Just to get rid of that maneuver node. And now we'll let the input lock come on back. And I'm not going to do anything that we couldn't do with the input lock, so this will be fine. We're just going to warp down to around a little further here, until we're about T-minus 10 minutes to the periapsis, I think. This definitely needed additional batteries on it. There's no doubt about that. We're going to burn retrograde here. Let's position for that. Should have positioned for it a little earlier, but this is fine. Let's begin that burn. We're going to physics warp. We're, of course, going to burn all of our energy out very quickly here. We knew that was going to be a thing. And we're just going to head on back and just burn this single engine for now. And you can see here, our periapsis is dropping. That's why I did a periapsis raise maneuver up here. And we'll probably do the same again. Most likely. Now, we should have about 4 times as much power on the gas scoopers, while simultaneously having a quarter of the number of engines here. Remember, this is 8 engines. So the gas scoopers should have similar energy flow, but should have somewhere around twice the burn time. If I did my math correctly there. Let's see, 4 times as much power. No, it should be like 16 times the burn time. That makes more sense. Something along those lines. So that will, of course, be much better. We are aiming for a final periapsis of about 300 kilometers, but for right now I'm most interested in dropping our apoapsis. So that is, of course, exactly what is happening. Not very quickly, to be sure. But it is what is happening. So this braking maneuver is, high excitement, I'm sure. In retrospect, these should have been... Well, I mean, if they were on arms and could be angled, like these back ones could be angled down this way, that would be fantastic. Just put robot arms on them. That's definitely the way to go in the future. Or, you know, maybe not have such a high requirement of electricity. That would work too. On a Jool station. That would also work. We are about to lose our light again on this burn attempt. Or not really burn attempt, but this burn. We're about 1 minute from the periapsis, and that is completely fine. In retrospect again, having the periapsis here, that would have been a whole lot smarter than having periapsis here. Just saying. But I mean, to some degree, we took what we could get when it came to the encounter. And this is fine. We can make this work. No worries about that. So this apoapsis is going to continue to be reduced over a fairly long period of time. We're out of power now, and we are, of course, going to time warp our way on around. Once again, we'll do a radial burn somewhere around here. So we'll just wait for that. And we'll perform that burn sometime around now would be good. So let's drop our warp and go to radial out, which we're conveniently pretty much already at. And let's begin that burn. I'm going to go on to stability assist here, though. Reason being, this position should shift to retrograde. In theory. So we should get a pretty long burn here. Yeah, as we go around, this will shift to retrograde. That'll work. It is going to raise our periapsis a decent amount, but that is fine. That means that we have more burn time. And considering that we only have 1 engine running, that's pretty much what we need is more burn time. Well, it is pretty much time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to bring in our gas scoopers. They're already well on their way. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.